next guests are a father and son with a beautiful bun. Take a look.
My name is Stephen Bell. I'm a husband, father of three. In May of 1992, I was 22 years old. A blood vessel burst in my spine while I was sleeping, and that left me paralyzed from the chest down, and I've had to use a wheelchair for 33 years now. Garreth was born about 7 years after my injury, and he's only known me to use a wheelchair.
In fourth grade, I had an assignment to write about who my hero was, and I decided to write about my dad.
It is actually my most prized possession. It still makes me feel like I'm seen even to this day.
My dad inspired me to go into physical therapy.
And he told me that, Papa, I've been watching you suffer your whole life in a wheelchair. I want to help others to not have to go through what you've been through.
In 2023, I graduated from the University of Miami with my doctorate of physical therapy. I got involved with Sabrina's Adaptive Beach Days. We take people with disabilities out to the beach and then into the water.
My son was able to take me into the water and for the first time in over 25 years.
I saw, probably to this day, the biggest smile I've ever seen on his face. I felt like I kind of found my purpose in life.
My message to others is to keep the faith, never give up, and always enjoy every moment of life.
That's such a beautiful story and a beautiful bond. And you know, to hear that you never saw your father in a different way. Tell us about that. What does that mean?
Well, you know, when I was born, he was already in the wheelchair, you know, when I started recognizing that, you know, this is my dad and everything. And I would go to baseball games and everything. He would play catch with me beforehand. He did the laundry around the house. He got his wheelchair in and out of the car every day. He went to work by himself. Super independent, you know. He never let his injury stop him, so it never really stuck out to me. You know, my dad was different than most dads.
Yeah.
It really wasn't until I think I was one day at a game, my teammate asked me, he's like, "Hey, how does your dad drive home?" You know, I saw him in the driver's seat the other day. That kind of, you know, was kind of weird to me. And I was like, "Oh, well, you know, he just uses these little hand controls that he has on the side." And it wasn't until he asked me that I realized, oh yeah, I guess that is kind of, you know, different than most people.
Because it's your dad, right?
Yeah, right.
And that's how he's always been. It's
Right,
not like
you
you've been a
know.
superhero your whole life.
Mm-hmm.
No, just putting in work, doing what you're supposed to do, you know. And I'm glad that he watched me. You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, it seems like your son has truly inspired you because you say his project is a huge inspiration to you. Tell us about that.
Yes, the project I felt seen. His teacher asked him to write something about his hero, and he chose me as his hero. First of all, I didn't see that coming at all. And there's a favorite part in there that he wrote when he talks about, and you guys have seen the picture already, and I can ugly cry through anything that I read. It feels like a big hug when I read it. But the favorite part was where he says, there are tons of reasons why he's my hero. First, he's tough enough to handle being in a wheelchair. Second, he finds a way to be happy. Third, he's still active because he plays catch with me. Lastly, it's like he's still walking because he takes care of himself and the family. That's why he's my hero.
Isn't that powerful, y'all? And very touching. Now, how did your father motivate you to choose your profession?
Well, when I was finishing high school, I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do for a career just yet. And growing up, my dad always told me I had these healing hands because whenever I would hug him or anybody else in my family, they said they just felt warmth. I never understood what they were talking about, but that's what they were saying. So he said I should put that to good use, and he was telling me about his experience with his rehabilitation when he first got injured.
Yeah.
And I thought that was pretty cool. You know, I kind of thought I wanted to go into medicine. I just didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I wasn't really big onto blood and guts, so I was like definitely not like a surgeon or anything. But I went to a PT clinic around the corner from my house. I checked it out, and I really fell in love with the process of watching somebody regain their independence after an injury and just being able to do all these things they weren't able to do beforehand. So when I went to physical therapy school at UM, and I didn't know exactly what setting I wanted to do just yet, I noticed that when we got to the topic of spinal cord injuries, that I just felt drawn towards it because the more I learned in school, the more questions he asked me about. I was like, oh, you know, I have this thing going on my back, you know, can you massage my shoulders, you know, all these different things. And the more I learned about his injury, I was like, that's so interesting, and I just felt drawn to learn more and more about it to not only help my dad more, get out of whatever pain he may be feeling that day, but also anybody else who's going through those similar situations.
That's a blessing. Both of y'all are making a huge difference, not only to each other, but to others as well.
Right.
And you were able to get in the water after 25 years because you took him into the water. Tell us about that.
It was kind of crazy, you know. I was telling him after we were digging through all these pictures that when he was 22, he had his injury, and then when I was 22, I was able to bring him into the water for that first time.
That is chilling. What do you want to say about that?
It was a blessing because when he was applying to medical school, he said this is a program through the Sabrina Cohen Foundation that they have with the school. And I said, all right, this is what we're praying for. And so it was a complete answer to our prayers for me to be able to be there and for him to take me to the water.
Yes.
You know, it was beautiful.
Because we would always go on vacation and there was a beach nearby, and I knew how much he loved the beach, and I could see in his face that it was just a little bit of disappointment that he just can't get that close to the water. You know, it's really hard to push a wheelchair over the sand. And in my interview at UM, they were telling me, oh, that's so great that your dad loves the beach because there's this program where we take people with disabilities to the beach and they get them in the water. I was like, that's amazing. I call him right afterwards. I was like, they have this great program here where they can take you to the beach. He tells me, all right, well, you're going to that school. That's what exactly.
And we're glad that you
And we
did.
made it.
Your happy place is here. What was your favorite part? Drop it in the comments and subscribe to help keep the joy coming.